President Trump says that Kirk has died after he was shot from a nearby building.
After being shot at Utah Valley University.
The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
I didn't even get to give him a kiss goodbye.
That young man, I forgive him.
Take your time.
Erika Kirk has been named the new CEO of Turning Point USA.
My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead.
It's weird to say excited.
Describes her husband's funeral as the event of the century. Merch, hats.
We have 50,000 plus hat orders.
Nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out.
Everyone grieves differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Zionists, the prime minister of Israel, all lied through their teeth about Charlie Kirk.
Her operation was in Constanta, the epicenter of Romania's trafficking scandal.
We heard conversations to have with a 15-year-old. I'm going to touch your butt.
$8.6 million to their own shell company. What is going on?
We have nothing to hide. My aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of a newspaper.
All right. How's everybody doing? A little bit of a opening with a movie trailer from the illustrious Candace Owens. Nate, have you seen the trailer before?
I have. I've seen the trailer before, and I'm all in for the internet drama piece of this, right? Like, I love it. I love Candace, but at a point, people, I think, are mixing up entertainment for journalism or entertainment for research. What she's doing is entertaining. It's crazy, but I don't think it has really any journalistic value or anything like that. It just seems to be as much as she can claim the nonsense to be true. It seems like that's kind of where she's at. Did you watch the thing yesterday? Because I watched part of her show yesterday.
I did not. I have some clips from it. I didn't. I confess that I didn't watch it. So everybody in the comments right now, you can lash out on me and say, if you haven't watched it, then you don't know what you're talking about. She was absolutely loving. Here we go. Here we go. I've already got the chat. Thank you so much, Kat. There we go, on schedule. I appreciate that. You guys watched a 2-minute trailer, but didn't actually watch the first episode. You're going to make statements. Hold on. Nate just said that he did, but no, Kat, you jumped ahead of us. So
just so you understand, I watched as much of it I could. Did I skipped part of the hour and a half, 2-hour thing, but I saw when she had the map of the cousins and all that stuff. And I saw it all. I didn't sit there and listen to every single word, but I did see it. And at the end of it, my impression was she's pushing at certain things, but there was no evidence there that says this actually happens, right? I'm going in looking to see what evidence is there that Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk's wife were involved in his murder. I didn't get that from that. So if people got it from that, just tell me, give me a timestamp to tell me like this is the breakdown proof, because I just didn't see that.
Yes, and you know what? I tried to have every single clip out there. There's so many clips that are tied to her because obviously it's Fury. But did you go into when she was talking about Erika Kirk's best friend, who, of course, she hammered on the name Rothstein. I wonder why. Why are you hammering on Rothstein, Candace? It sort of reminds me of, how do I put it? We cover a lot of JFK on another show I do, as you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many times I've seen in the chat or in comments that have you heard of Jack Ruby?
Of course. Yeah, okay, Jack Ruby.
Guess how many times I've seen and heard, did you know that Jack Ruby's real name is Rubenstein. Do you know what that means?
But he probably has a Jewish heritage.
Yes. So, and the question is, it's kind of like, so? I mean, so what? But I love this giant discovery. There were a ton of people like, have you heard of the last name Gold, the last name Silver? A lot of these are Jewish names and they lopped off the end, or they had Hollywood names. It was pretty common to do throughout the 20th century. I'm sure you noticed that, right?
Yes.
So,
But that's because of the whole banking system back then. A lot of people don't know that I think it was illegal for Muslims to loan at interest, and same thing with Christians. So the only people who technically could make loans at interest were Jews. And if you're in control of the banking system, then you're in control of, what essentially happens, right? Because people need money to do things. You need money to fight wars. You need money for agriculture. You need money to stay in power. And if somebody loans you that money, then they really have the power over you. You know what I mean? So I think that's the theory that goes on, the Rothschilds and so forth and so forth.
Oh, absolutely. And Candace, even before she put it out, and I'll circle back around, this was it's a screenshot of one of her posts. Immediately, Zionists are putting in real work hours promoting our upcoming series. I would like to extend to them all my deepest gratitude. We are a small team and couldn't do it without your steadfast commitment to hysterics. See you tomorrow. Again, I'm not going to just throw out and say, this is specious claims. Let me see. There's a New York Post article that is also discussing this. Right? It is controversial.
So slammed over a new series that investigates Erika Kirk. Now, I know I got to say this. For all the people out there who are going to attack us because Candace is insane. This is lunatic stuff, right? And I'll even go into legally why I believe she's just going totally off the deep end. She's essentially acting like there's nothing on the other side here when she does have a non-disparagement agreement with these people. But regardless of even all that, for Officer Tatum, who is one of Candace's close friends, he says this is BS. Shapiro, even Alex Jones, who is Mystic Conspiracy Theory,
he's been after her.
Got us like, yo, what's going on? Like you got a problem, Candace. So if for those people who continuously say that she's providing something, I think she's found a niche, and her niche is drama. And her niche is, unfortunately, I can tell you lies and just say I didn't say them later, or I can coach my lies and innuendo and just pretend that I really didn't say it if I didn't say these exact words. And I think that, and it works. It works. It's been working. That's why she has so many loyal fans. And then as soon as you point to, okay, give me the one or two things that you can explain, with what she's trying to say, they can't do it.
And La Chad is bringing up a good point. Nick Fuentes, of all people, is calling her crazy. And Nick is no friend of, shall we say, Zionists or Jews. But I did want to share, and I pulled up, this is the response to the New York Post article. So again, I want to let, her own words, her people's words, her spokespeople's words speak for themselves, not me. Quote, we have no comment. The series will speak for itself, and you can watch the premiere episode Wednesday. A spokesman for Candace Owens told the Post when asked about the backlash to the trailer. And Owens' spokesperson later sent over a separate statement to the Post. Quote, LOL, there isn't any backlash outside of the Zionist bubble, which has no influence. People are excited to watch, and we're looking forward to presenting what we've discovered about Mrs. Kirk, the spokesman said. So at this point, just with what I'm saying, because I want to get into the other part, this is full on an attack on Erika Kirk, correct?
Oh yeah. No
it's not implication. It is war.
She is evil and she's got issues. And I'll say it. My notes from the first episode were, where are they at? I'm just picking them up. So I put, there's a lot of innuendo here. There's a lot of background discrepancies. Like she said this, and it's a lot of speculation, but there is no substantial facts that Erika Kirk or Turning Point USA was involved in Charlie Kirk's murder. From what I'm seeing, it seems like the only person was the shooter they caught. So I don't know if there was something else somebody found in that 2-hour diatribe or whatever, but I didn't see any of that.
It's going to be a 3-part series, Nate. It could still be coming, and now she's threatening to make it 6 parts because there's some backlash and there's some people that are starting to attack her. I'm not sure about the means of how some of the people are attacking her. I'll have to look into it further, but they are doing to Candace what Candace has been doing to others. Is the best way I can put it. There's a lot of people slinging around saying, you know what? I think Candace Owens. How much money has Candace Owens made from the assassination of Charlie Kirk? You know what? That could be seen as a motive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and here we go. Because I don't like what Candace is doing, right on schedule. I am a blatant Israel first propagandist. Thank you. Okay. So if I say somebody is a liar and they're putting out garbage, I am also obviously Israel first. Nick Fuentes is Israel first. Alex Jones is Israel first. So, okay, Rob. Okay, I got it. But
listen, I will say, even with the Israel thing, people, listen, in some instances, I do agree with you. I agree. The war in Palestine, Israel kind of went too far. I agree. I agree with all that. But we can't just say Israel was involved in Charlie Kirk's death, right? Like what evidence is it? Just because, and it's not like Charlie Kirk was a mover and shaker, right? Mm-hmm. He was talking to the president. He was helped to get the president elected, right? He's talking to all these people. That was his thing. So just because he had connections with Israel makes sense. Just because, like, I think people, if there's any controversy and anyone can say Israel's involved in any way, it automatically becomes the Jews, right? That's what it seems to me. It doesn't seem to me that people just want to look at the facts and say, well, do the facts meet this conclusion?
I agree. DJH Phantom sounds like Candace does not like it when she's forced to eat her own medicine or feed her own. Yeah, I think that's fair. The question though is it like I said, I have mixed feelings about the countertext. I like the overall principle, but what's happening is they're kind of outing her staff members. So they're shaming people that work for her, saying, hey, look at this person. Now, right now, it's social media accounts. So they're saying, hey, this is an Instagram account of this person who's her producer or whatever, etc. This is her makeup artist. This is this person. As long as it's public accounts, okay, but it's like attack her directly. Don't be her. I don't know. I'm a little uncomfortable. It could very easily veer into doxing territory. I think people need to be careful with that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be doxing her staff. I think the war is fought with evidence, right? You provide your evidence and say what happens. But I think the problem is Candace is so good at convincing people who may not mentally all be there that these innuendos are evidence. And I'm just going to say it. I watched that video. There was I didn't see any text message, any money trail. I didn't see anything that essentially she sold me at the beginning of, hey, I'm doing this because this person is running $1 billion corporation and I should be able to expose them. Okay, let's do the expose. And the expose was shit. It got 1 million views in one day. It was funny because somebody was like, you're just jealous the kid, and the kid has got 1 million views in one day. I'm like, I get videos that get 1 million views in one day. And, matter of fact, my best video, I think it got like 2 or 3 million views in one day. So it's, it's like, all right, well, maybe that's the case. But at the end of the day, just point to us, like the people who are in the chat who are mad, just point to us the evidence, right? Say, okay, here's a piece of evidence that Candace, and matter of fact, I'll say this. Candace has pointed to evidence before. She said, there's the evidence, right? Knocked down. And then 20 minutes later, she'll say, I never said that. So,
you mean Egyptian jets and wrong time zones?
Yeah, and it's like people just don't want to acknowledge that. I don't know if it's appropriate to say she's lying, but she's obviously misleading people with some of the facts. Now, maybe she's diffused in some of these conversations, but don't we have the video rundown, right? Of all her different, all her different.
Oh, well, I have that
right?
one, but you know what? This is, somebody sent me this on the side. I don't know if you have it pulled up. We'll call it a Candace Owens allegory. I don't know who originally wrote it. I would absolutely give credit if I knew who did it. Somebody sent it to me and they literally said they don't know who wrote it, but it kind of describes how a lot of people view a Candace investigation. And the basic story is Candace Owens returning a toaster at Walmart. So if you're ready, Nate, we'll go through a little bit of play acting. I think a little play acting is always fun to do. So,
and we're doing this to explain what, just to be clear.
Well, this is what we perceive Candace Owens' presentation and investigations consists of. If you will, it's an allegory or an analogy, because obviously she probably didn't return a toaster to Walmart. But this is if Candace Owens, the way she presents things on the internet, were returning a toaster to Walmart, here's what it probably would look like.
Okay,
and
so
I'll
here it
play
is.
Candace.
Play Candace.
It's a stretch for my dramatic skills. Obviously, I look a little different, and I'm not as talented, to be honest. She's very talented. Right
No,
now.
she's fantastic. For people, I just want to make it very clear. Candace is fantastic broadcaster. She is special when it comes to doing what she does. So her talent for this medium, we're not taking that away. We're just saying we believe that what she's doing is pretty troubling. But go ahead.
All right. I'd like to exchange a toaster. It stopped working.
I'm the Walmart person, so I'm saying no problem. Do you have the receipt?
Oh, I have the receipt.
Okay, go ahead. Let me get the receipt.
I'm just really trying to get a working toaster. I have evidence this one was broken at the factory.
Okay, I understand. So where's the toaster?
I have someone holding it safe until the right time.
Okay. Well, obviously, we need the toaster if you're returning a toaster, right?
Trust me, it's coming. I have the receipts too.
Well, we haven't seen any receipt, proof of purchase, or the toaster, so,
Random person in line. She has the receipts. I believe her.
Well, then, let me see it then, right? Let me see it.
I have a big update on proof that this toaster was broken at the factory.
All right, listen, you're at Walmart. Okay. What's that?
I just received a tip from another random person in line that on the same block of the factory where this toaster was made, there is a store across the street that also sells microwaves. And guess what? Both store managers have a child named Robert. Think that's a coincidence?
I make $10 an hour at Walmart service desk. Okay. You got to give me something else.
Another random person. She definitely has the receipts. You could tell she's telling the truth. I always bring the receipts.
Listen, ma'am, you don't have the toaster. You don't have the receipt. We're here at Walmart. I got a whole bunch of people waiting in line. We're done. Where can I help? Who's next in line? Because without a receipt and without the toaster, you got nothing.
And scene. And Obscure Destinations is a huge fan of our dramatic performance.
But you know what? It's funny because I do believe that it's funny because watching it, it's so hard not to take the bait that there's something here, right? Because when watching it, especially in the beginning, she does such a great job of setting everything up, of getting you on that emotional, pulling your emotional heartstrings, talking about, and she's right a lot of the stuff she's saying. Why can't I call her out? Why can't I do this? Well, number one, because you have a non-disparagement agreement. That's the reason why you shouldn't be calling her out. But let's just put that aside. Matter of fact, we should talk about that because that's going to be an issue, right? The non-disparagement agreement.
Yes. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me find that because I want to be fair. And I do appreciate that we have Candace herself, sharing information. Now, a lot of the clips, I apologize, are coming from Nathan Livingstone, who I have interviewed on my channel, Eric Hunley. Okay, and to be completely transparent, he runs Milk Bar TV, and he does a ton of work clipping Candace Owens, other people like Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Anyway, he does a lot of clipping, and I am using a lot of his material because he's doing a lot of legwork for me. I'm just trying to be fair and give credit where it is due. But here is an example where she's kind of starting around with the initial starts of the disparagement and then talking about said cease and desist letter.
All right.
This Turning Point USA, a cease and desist. Naturally, to give them credit, we've had a contract to speak going back to 2019, 2020, and there is standard NDA agreements. You're not going to disparage me. You're not going to defame me. I believe that people within that company betrayed Charlie. I'm putting the fire here right at the feet of Turning Point because I am disgusted. I'm going to wait for the financial report to come out. And I got question marks about a couple of people over at Turning Point USA. I think it's about to all get exposed. I think it was a bad idea to kill Charlie Kirk. What if what you're doing destroys Turning Point USA? If the truth is capable of destroying your company, then does your company deserve to exist? The way to honor him is to give money. I don't know. There's just something really sick and demonic about the entire thing. I want war with all of you. We're not just going to keep on going and jump into a succession plan. My plan was to assassinate Charlie Kirk, who had at long last faltered. Wow.
I'm not going to force everybody to keep going. You get the point. This is kind of rolling all the way through late last year into now. And that's why I wanted to, ask you ahead of time that, is there any question that she's attacking Erika Kirk at this point now?
Well, question one. Well, the first thing I need to tell the audience. So after we talked about this last time, I went and did the research and said, okay, let me just see what the hell we're talking about. So people are getting confused from the Candace crowd. There's a civil disparagement, there's defamation, and there are NDAs, right? Non-disparagement agreements. So for defamation, you have to overcome the First Amendment. And the way you overcome the First Amendment, it's got to be false. And on top of that, you have to know it's false and all that type of stuff. That's defamation that overcomes the First Amendment because the government is the one that passed the law that's going to make you pay. Sure. The second part is that you have commercial disparagement, which essentially is defamation against the company. Now, in both those cases, the information has to be false or heavily implies something that to be false. But generally, falsity is the nature of the claim. Now, when it comes to non-disparagement agreements, you can throw that falsity out the window because even if it's true, it can be disparaging. So the issue with non-disparagement agreements is that usually with former employees, you don't want them out there talking bad about the company. So you have this cooling off period. All right, give me a year after you leave where you're not going to say anything bad about us. Then after that year cooled off, you can do whatever you want. But for that year, we got to be cool, right? So you can then contract with someone else and say, I can contract with Eric right now and say, Eric, for the next 2 years, you can't say anything bad about me. And if Eric says, great, I accept that offer. I give him money. He keeps his mouth shut. Now, if he starts talking bad, I can now ask for my money back and also damages, right? I can say, hey, I want my money back and also all the damage that you've caused because we had this agreement in place. And the more Eric says bad things about me, the more money I can ask for, right? Hey, you said all these bad things about me. You told people to do this. The worse it gets. So Candace Owens has a non-disparagement agreement, meaning she's not supposed to be able to say things bad or to put the company in a bad light.
Sure.
But I would say if you're saying Turning Point, and she says she has this agreement.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to share it. It's not me saying it. She's saying it.
Yes, she says she has this agreement. So if she has this agreement, and I'm going to ask, and the people in the chat, I need you really to understand this. She has a contract that she signed. She took the money and said, I will not say bad stuff about you for a year. She took their money. And now she's saying bad stuff about them. What's the end game with that? is she doing this just to pay them? Because I'm assuming, well, Candace actually said they called me in, sat me down, and said, here was the agreement. You're still under it, right? So it's not like she doesn't know. To me, it seems like she is walking herself down the plank to get destroyed in a lawsuit. Because from what I've seen, it looks like she's obviously, and I'm going to say obviously, violated the terms of that agreement. Right? I don't think it's even close. So what's the end game here? And the more the stuff that she's saying isn't showing any type of proof that something has happened, it's literally just disparaging. Literally, it's not even, if she showed hard proof, that it would be okay. There's hard proof here, so even if it's a little disparaging, but I give it. You don't even have that. She literally is just disparaging this whole thing. So I don't know what her end game is here, but if I'm with Turning Point USA, you know what I do? I let her continue to do all that stuff. I let her say whatever the hell she wants to say, because when I file the lawsuit, the whole lawsuit is going to be everything that she's been saying for the thing, and I'm going to be asking for everything that she owns. And I think that's Turning Point's end game here. It's like
whatever the Macrons don't get if they succeed.
Yeah.
Because there's another. But you know what? You bring up really extremely important points, and I think this super chat is on brings up another question. Illustrate Life. How do you think videos that try crimes pre-trial can affect a real trial in a real courtroom? I'm concerned about getting real life justice. Now, I think this is a legitimate question, because the amount of popularity and fame and everything that Candace Owens has, and she is driving an alternate narrative. There's somebody on trial, literally facing the death penalty. His name is Tyler Robinson. He has been arrested. He has a preliminary trial coming up in May. Mm-hmm. And there are some who might argue that Candace Owens is spoiling the jury pool, throwing out a lot of garbage. And Nate, I don't know if you remember during Johnny Depp, do you remember how Amber Heard's team was bringing up that umbrella guy and other creators for playing with a narrative? Is there any possibility that Candace Owens could find herself dragged into this trial, since she is so directly making claims? I mean, she is implying, or bringing on people who are implying, that not only did Tyler Robinson not do it, but making claims or implying, is my opinion, that it was Erika Kirk, people at Turning Point, or the Mossad, a Zionist, or the FBI, or the military, or Egyptians. I can't keep up with everybody. Is she facing possible risk here?
Well, to be honest with you, no, because there's still free speech in America. So she's not facing any risk for what she's saying. The risk is to the fairity of the juror, right? You want a fair jury. So I think in their jury selection process, they're going to be asking jurors, have you heard of Candace Owens? What have you seen online? Those are like kind of the standard questions. And if people are honest, generally they are, then they'll let them on the jury. I think what's happening here is that there is this potential that you could get one person who's watching Candace's stuff and believes it, and then when they go into that courtroom, they just believe the nonsense. But I'll say this: I don't think Candace could continue to say stuff like this, but I think most journalists would find it to be irresponsible, because you're poisoning the jury pool, the well. So in that respect, yes, I think it's unethical, but I think legally she's in another state. She's just spouting stuff onto the internet. I don't really think she has any real issues with legally what's going on there. Now, there are some situations where you could, like, for instance, if this was a sexual assault case, then the victim's identity is protected by federal law and state law. So she can't go out there and start revealing the victim's identity, because that would be an offense. But just saying, I think, I don't think this guy did it. I think it might be somebody else. I think she can get that protected under the First Amendment. And somebody else puts here, Candace Owens left Turning Point USA in May 2019.
But she was still speaking at events.
Yes. So just so everybody understands, this is absolutely true. But she still had a contract to continue speaking at events that just ended December of last year. And in that contract, there was a non-disparagement agreement that was from 2019 all the way up. Actually, that contract ends, the NDA part ends in December of this year. So in the time frame from 2019 till December of 2026, December of this year, Candace Owens should not be saying negative things about Turning Point USA. And Candace Owens said this. So if you're a Candace fan and you don't know this, I'm sorry, but she's the one that said this. She
also, I believe, did give speeches in 2025. Under that contract. So it's recent. It's not like that whole time it was a ghost contract out there. She was giving speeches intermittently through those 6 years.
Yes. But let's go to the video, because you got the video, right?
Oh, I thought, okay. I'm sorry. I found this clip, and this is talking about the relations on Erika Kirk. Remember early on I said I didn't have the clip. Okay, this is some of the.
Why does her one-time roommate Nicole Rothstein allege that half of their family, referring to her and Erika's family, is Jewish? Doesn't make sense. She also claimed that after Charlie's assassination, that Erika, she was online going back and forth with people, that Erika was her best friend and her cousin. Nicole Rothstein said this. Now, I want to be clear, the Rothstein family, the Zion's Gate is their dedication. Nicole wouldn't be lying if she posted that it was her family's dedication, but Erika? Also, how did Erika and Nicole Rothstein get so close? Remember, Erika presents that she was raised by a single mother on the Lebanese side. If Erika is telling the truth about her paternity, then Nicole Rothstein, I want you to understand who this would be to her. Nicole Rothstein, it's going to sound ridiculous, but this is the reality. If Erika's telling the truth.
Okay.
Nicole Rothstein would be Erika's father's sister's husband's previous wife's daughter's daughter. In other words, zero blood relation, not even kind of related, kind of crazy. You would even call each other cousins.
All right, so now we're getting into the cousin.
All right, hold on. When I was a kid, I would say, this is my cousin, or this is my uncle, right? We had those close relationships. This is not my real uncle, but it's my uncle. This is not my real cousin, but it's my cousin. It's like, are we really going there? And how did they get so close? Because they were roommates. She just answered her own question there. They were roommates. Obviously, when you're living with somebody, you get close to that person sometimes. And hey, this is like my cousin. This is my cousin, right? I'm surprised they didn't call each other sisters, because sometimes they'll call each other sisters. Like,
why not? I might call Nate my brother sometimes.
Yeah, no, but then they'll do our genealogy. Nate's great second cousin's third grandmother. Like, what? What are we talking about?
But by the way, can I point something out? If because it was by marriage, there's a question in there. But if somebody, that entire chain was out there, so if you say that it was my grandfather's cousin's niece, guess what that would make you? A cousin. It's called a distant cousin. Teddy Roosevelt and FDR were distant cousins. Cousin is a really wide range, but you know what? Somebody I think solved it. Dave Rubin shared this. What she's figured out.
Father's sister's
but they're not
husband's
related.
previous wife's daughter's daughter.
I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
Father's sister's husband's.
Now, can I point out the last element, of that comparison that makes that absolutely real, Nate?
What?
Well, the guy who made Spaceballs
is Jewish. Are you giving me the whole he's Jewish thing?
He is.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Let's get to the addery, man. Oh my God, this is crazy.
All right, you know what? You're right. We've been holding people up so long. Let's liven things up. We do have a sponsor for the video. Thank you so much. Wonderful sponsor. I hope you guys consider checking this out.
Here's a quick message from our sponsor, Rumble Wallet. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back and it's happening everywhere. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want you to see. Now, Rumble is one of those companies that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. Now, on one side, Rumble is the company that's challenging big tech censorship. But on the other side, they've introduced something that will give us the protection from the big banks shutting us off. So that's why they launched Rumble Wallet. This is a wallet that no one can cancel, a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like myself without a middleman trying to take a cut. Now, with Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours, only yours to protect your future and family. Now, you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin or Tether Gold all in one place. Tether Gold, for instance, is real gold on a blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with a click of a button. Now, there are no fees when you tip my channel or others, and we receive the tips instantly, unlike other platforms where you have to wait for a payout. Now, you can support my show or others by clicking the tip button on my Rumble channel. It's wallet.rumble.com. Now, you can download Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. That's wallet.rumble.com or search for Rumble Wallet in the app stores. This is a paid advertisement. Cryptocurrency and tokenized assets like Tether Gold are volatile and not FDIC insured. Invest responsibly and consult your financial professional if needed. All right.
And
thank you
thank
to Rumble Wallet for sponsoring this video.
Absolutely. I think a little diversification is always something to check out.
Good. And remember, speak to your financial advisor. But I would say this. You know, I think what's the end game here? Let's just stop cutting. Like we pussy.
I don't know.
Around it. What's the end game
I'm flabbergasted.
Is it to destroy
really
Erika Kirk?
I don't even know, because it so much doesn't make sense. And you're right, Nate, because people need to have some sort of incentive. I'm not seeing it. It's obviously there somewhere. It's just I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I keep challenging people. Just show me something that makes me like. No, it sounds good, and I think people are getting tricked with it sounds good. It sounds like something's there, but no one showed that anything is actually there. It's all BS. It's all innuendo. And the sad part about it is that when she is sued eventually, let me ask this: do you think Turning Point's going to sue her?
Yes,
for violating the contract.
Well, isn't the cease and desist the first step in ultimately suing? Is to say you had your chance. Now we're going, kind of like what happened with you and Christopher Boozy.
Yeah, you got to turn them over the thing and say this is why it's false, blah blah blah, blah, and then see if the court decides. That's true. And I think they're letting her build this up. It says this guy says if one signs a non-disparagement agreement, it means no bad mouthing, regardless of the veracity of one statement. Yes. Exactly. Even if it's true, I need to tell people, even if it's true, it can be true. What Candace is saying can be true. That doesn't mean she doesn't have to pay for it. Let me see. Tim Pool said that Candace's behavior is like a jilted ex. Than a jilted ex rather than a good friend, which would explain why she's trying to burn down Charlie. A
lot of people are wondering that.
A lot of people are saying that she might have had a thing for Charlie, and that because she had this thing for Charlie, it doesn't, it's not really working out for her. But I don't know. None of this makes sense, people. None of this makes sense. And
that actually kind of starts
to. Doesn't make sense.
But the funny part is that when it becomes emotional like that, then it's like, well, maybe, because you and I can't find a fiscal reason. We can't find a profiting reason. Yes, you're going to profit early, but if the courts rule against you, you're going to lose potentially everything. So it does make you wonder, is there an emotional reason behind it? And if there is an emotional reason behind it that could explain, going scorched earth, I don't know. I'm not saying it's true. I just don't know.
How? All right,
we're just asking questions.
Look how bad this is. She goes on. It's not like she's hiding. She goes on, looks at the camera and says, "Hey guys, I got an NDA. I can't say anything bad about these people." And then goes and continues, and then does a whole 6-part documentary on how bad these people are, and they may have killed the last leader of the company. Really?
Yes, I totally agree. Oh yeah.
Bridget McComb.
Thank you, Sean. I don't know. Maybe Sean will be on with us tomorrow. I'm not sure, but yeah. Again, that's what I think is funny is people are throwing out, I guess what we call them Candace style accusations, and then following up with the just asking questions, which is, a deliberate maneuver by a lot of creators. But it goes deeper, Nate. And I just got a last little bit to kind of cap this segment out. A lot of people are cashing in on Candace. Like even in the trailer, you saw some names in there, right? You've got Lionel, you've got Tim Dillon, you have Jimmy Dore, of course, you have Dave Smith. We can almost, they're known for certain opinions and views. They're all in the trailer. But there are others who are out there right now trying to kind of cash in, and they're making statements like Turning Point offered to pay me money. This one particular case, I believe his name is Matt Wallace, made a claim that Turning Point offered him money to go against Candace Owens, and he turned it down. And a list has been distributed by an account named Simon Godick or something like that. I have a clip talking about it, listing a bunch of creators who are supposedly paid to go against Candace Owens. And now you have people like Dana Lash, Laura Loomer, Cat Turd, who are all saying, contact my lawyer now. We're into full defamation. And here's a clip of a former deputy director of the FBI talking about this exact scenario.
Spoke out. I would listen. I have the right to an opinion like anyone else. You don't have to like it. I think attacking Erika Kirk is an abomination. The woman lost her husband, and I have an opinion on it. And that's okay. You can have an opinion on it too. However, you saw this come out yesterday from a Simon Godick, which is an obvious scam account. These are people who were paid to call Candace Owens evil or a demon. Whatever you think of her, smearing someone for money is morally bankrupt, which is strange because the exact same message came out from a bunch of other people, which makes it appear that they were paid. And who's on there? Cat Turd, Graham Allen. Oh, look, Bongino report. Guys, who cashed that check? Jasmine, you're the business manager. Did you get a check from anyone? Are you sure? No one paid you to say that Candace Owens, you're sure of it? Jasmine is shaking her head. Guy says he's waiting for his cut. He's like, how did you guys leave me out of this? Dana Lash, Laura Loomer, Steve Deschaux, Dave Rubin. Apparently, we were all paid. And of course, this rocketed around the internet. And this is why I say all the time, I would rather a smaller, leaner audience of sane people than a bigger audience that includes morons. If you follow this account, this absolute dipshit, who, by the way, Laura Loomer's threatening to sue, and I hope she does because it's obviously fake, you got taken again. Here's Kanakoa the Great with a tweet. It was an AI-generated thing. Here's a link to the original AI-generated fake email you just saw. Who mindlessly shared this nonsense? The answer is all of the Jew haters out there. There is the fake email that started this whole thing. So,
all right. So I don't need to dwell on it, but I thought, we could talk for a minute because this is not Candace directly. Okay. No. This is people who are cheerleading and, in my opinion, trying to get a little bit of her fame. There's a couple other people out there. Carrie Prejean Buller is, if I'm saying that correctly, I believe is another person. So they're trying to get under the Candace umbrella, get the shout out from Candace and get fame themselves. And they're spreading stuff like this. Is it a fair analogy to compare this to, Ethan Klein suing the creators who were supporting Hassan Piker and making all kinds of claims and stuff about Ethan Klein? It's kind of similar, right?
Well, he set them up. He set them up nicely.
I know that, but they were doing it ahead of time.
Yeah, they were doing it. He knew that they were going to do it. It's like if you know somebody's gonna, so he set them up pretty well. Yeah, he got him, and they're pleading guilty right now to all that stuff, pleading liable to all that stuff too. So it's crazy, And hearing you say this, what about Megyn Kelly? Because Megyn Kelly has made it a point to not say anything bad about Candace, right? She's made it a point. Matter of fact, she said Candace never I do have the clip where Megyn says she never said that stuff about Candace. She never said Candace never said Charlie. Like, matter of fact, this didn't age well at all. This didn't age well at all. But I got the clip, and I want to ask people about it.
Go ahead and share that up there. Let's see if I can.
I got to pull yours down.
Pull mine up.
There it is.
Okay. You got
there
it.
It is. All right, here it is.
Candace has been claiming Erika Kirk was behind the murder of Charlie, which I had not heard, and I was.
Well, remember, this is before she just kind of came out of the straight, said it, but she was implying it heavily, very much, right?
Sure, she was.
So, and then Megan was like, she did, because they were hiding behind the implication.
Yes.
Because Candace didn't say the exact words.
Correct.
Blah, blah, I believe Erika Kirk had Charlie Kirk killed. Since those words weren't spoken in that way, then that's why Megan was able to be a snake and sleaze her way out of it. So here's what she said, because she didn't hear those exact words. But as Ben Shapiro, who is now 1,000,000% vindicated, said, this is what she said.
Was behind the murder of Charlie, which I had not heard. And I was taken aback because that seems like something I would have heard. It's so crazy. And I have since learned it is not true. Candace has not made that claim. And in fact, I've now seen several clips of Candace specifically defending Erika Kirk and saying she would never make a claim like that about Erika, and that she is open-minded to other people at Turning Point. That's obvious.
I have trouble finding
that
those
point.
clips.
I had heard that
they haven't
point.
crossed my timeline.
But she's specifically been defending Erika Kirk, and she's been saying she does not think that of Erika. And in fact, if you read her comments, she's under pressure to make comments about Erika. And so far, what I've seen, she hasn't. So
now, that obviously didn't age well for poor Megyn Kelly. And then I like her excuse about why not calling out Candace, because, she's a mother, blah, 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 blah.
Young mother,
So is Ilhan Omar. So is
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle, right? She had no problem calling them out when they started BS, right? But when it comes to Candace, well, I feel for her because she's a young mother. Well, damn. I wish she had those feelings with Meghan Markle. I wish she had those same concerns.
I always appreciate that we have the candy crowd here. Okay. To resort to ad hominem attacks on Candace is beneath both of you. Prepare to lose thubs. The public are not blind. Okay. First off, Jay Naviv, do you know what ad hominem means? I encourage you to please look up the definition of ad hominem and then share it with us. And by the way, have a nice day.
Well, this is you know what I'll do. I'm going to play this video because of you. You've inspired me to play this video because this is what I feel like is really going on here.
Love you, Charlie, but I hate you, Charlie, but I love you. I love him. I hate him. Love you, Charlie, but I hate you, Charlie. I love you. I hate him. Love you, Charlie, but I hate you, Charlie, but I love you. I love him. I hate him. Charlie, why did you get married? Well, when did you love Israel? I love you, but I hate you, but I love fuck you, man. This is gonna be hard. Love you, Charlie, but I hate you, Charlie, but I love you. I love him. I hate.
Yeesh.
This ends now.
Okay.
Never go full Candace. Let me out.
That was my night yesterday. I was like, what the hell am I watching here? This is what it's become. It's like it's ridiculously bad. Now, listen, I know
I can't top that. We got to go on. I can't top that.
we've just lost the sub because the person we don't understand the nonsense the person's been. But this is like it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what?
Look at you're a lawyer here. Gene spliced. See, the AI video just played could be actual defamation. No, it's called parody or satire. we got to provide a dictionary for some folks, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I know it. I'm sorry. You're the lawyer, Nate. I should not
clear,
make
it's not
statements like that.
You know this. It's clear. It's this is just it's craziness. But hey, if Candace wasn't a public figure, we may have something here, but she's pretty much a public figure. So she would have to prove there's a whole bunch of stuff, and it's an obvious parody. Sargon of Akkad had to pay what She got paid hundreds.
Oh, he got paid, yeah, because what was it? Something Aquila, I forgot the name of her.
Aquila,
yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, which is an ironic name, but yes.
Here it is. Candace has always been this way.
I agree.
It's a shame conservatives fell for the whole thing. She takes things personally and tries to make them objective. Yes. You know what?
You know what? I'm going to answer this because this is actually a good approach. I was a little bit mocking in my statement. This is I'm going to treat this as a legitimate question. When played in a monetized setting, yes, a parody or satire absolutely is monetized. I mean, how many times do you see play acting, parodies? The Babylon Bee is fully monetized. The Onion's fully monetized. National Lampoon, Saturday Night Live. All of these things are parodies, and they're naming people directly, and they're acting as the people. So I was being facetious before, but I did want to, actually address this, legitimately. Yes.
Yeah, SNL is literally all parody, as somebody just said there. Like this, yeah. It's like SNL does make money too. Yeah, AI. So yeah, it's and the key point here is for a fact, and everybody knows here for a fact that was not Candace Owens, right? There's no one who would be fooled to believe that was actually Candace Owens, right? It's a mock-up, it's a fake. So the fact that a reasonable person who's not crazy and insane will look at that video and say, "Oh, that's not Candace. It's obviously AI. It's obviously fake." Then yeah, we won't have any issues because they're going to have a whole jury there of reasonable people, and they're going to play that video and be like, "Do you believe people would believe that was actually Candace?" And when they say no, then you're going to have a problem. But I do want to point out the Ben Shapiro. So Ben Shapiro went on this. Now, don't get me wrong. Ben Shapiro, I think, does a lot of create, like even his take on the Epstein files, because he's kind of taking that approach. Epstein files mean nothing, even though we're still going to jump into the Epstein files.
That's coming. Yeah.
But Ben Shapiro, his response to Candace
Owens,
I agree with. So, and I agree with Offset Tatum's too. But here is Ben Shapiro. This is what he has to say about this whole thing. We don't have to play this whole thing, but this is what he says.
As you may have heard me refer at the top of the show, is an evil, twisted human being. Now, the reason I say that today is because Candace has spent the last several months attacking the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erika Kirk.
I just want to say, because defamation is being thrown about here. Mm-hmm. Everything he said is technically not defamatory, correct? Because he said evil, which there's no legal standard, he can't personify it. Twisted human being. So technically speaking, Nate, as a lawyer, was any of that statement defamation?
No, these are opinions.
Okay.
So
well, that's
evil.
What I wanted to put it out.
So we're talking about subjective opinions. If he said so, it's got to be, remember, defamation has to be false, and plus even like it has to be false. It has to be put to third parties. A whole bunch of rules. But number one, opinions are totally protected, and opinions, especially against public figures, are automatically protected, unless he says she's committing crimes. If he said that she committed murder or makes some type of factual claim like that, then you're in a space where you're like, but these are all opinions. She's evil, just like they say Trump is evil or Biden is evil or he's dumb. That's it. And you have to have actual malice to say this. So I think he's good. I think he's more than good.
All right. And he is a lawyer.
It took her just a few days after Charlie's sick murder in order to start casting aspersions at Turning Point USA, people who work there all the way up to the highest levels, up to and including Erika Kirk. She was doing that very, very quickly. And she's been doing it for months. I mean, truly for months. Yesterday, she came out with something that she had announced she was doing, which is a series. This is a trailer for a series, a teaser trailer that is titled Bride of Charlie, which is supposedly now an expose on the evil, nefarious, predatory nature of Erika Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, who again was shot in the neck, not by some sort of vast conspiracy involving French intelligence and Egyptian airplanes, but by a trans-loving gay man who is a furry. That is the actual story. And because Candace Owens is either going through the throes of mental illness or because she is a sick human being or both, she has decided that she is going to turn her fire on the widow. Don't believe me? I know. Listen, there are a lot of people who listen to Candace. She has a huge audience. This is what she does. This is who she is. She is a conspiratorial, evil person, because that's who would do something like this. A conspiratorial, evil person. Now, the only reason that I'm playing this trailer is so you understand the extent of the evil.
we got the trailer. But
Watching Candace stitch together a bunch of specious nonsense because they like the gossip of it, because they enjoy the tawdry Maury Povich silliness of it.
Maury.
Because they're watching a car crash at the side of the road. Please have some more respect for your own brain than that.
now he goes into saying people should stop watching Candace. Now, I don't agree with that. I think people, like, I watched because I was interested in the story. I watched. I was one of those. It was like 200,000 people watching live when I was watching. Right. I watched because I wanted to see, like, she had done a good job of preparing me. Like, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to do. And this. So I watched for the entertainment value. And I do think there is entertainment value. And people who say there's no entertainment value. Matter of fact, her show is more entertaining than Ben's show. It's probably more entertaining than my
more
show.
Viewers.
So I would say I watched it, but I'm not going to sit here and say there was anything that was there that was substantive. It was all BS. And as a lawyer, my whole thing is like, she's got a contract that said she can't say that crap. Right? She's got a contract that said she can't say that crap. So what's the end game here? Unless she's just this, essentially, I'm going to say it. This is essentially legal self-deletion, because I can't say the other word because I want to get.
Looks like
that's essentially what this is. This is legal self-deletion. You're literally and it's every argument you can make that Candace is somehow doesn't know about this is just gone. It's like she came on live on video and said, I have this NDA, I can't say bad stuff, and then went and saying bad. Like, what more do you need? If you're Turning Point USA's lawyers, you don't take this for a fee. You take this. You take this contingency. We're going to get paid here for sure. This is not about if we get paid. This is about how much we're going to get paid. Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that contract is really what is the troubling factor. And what I mean by that is, you've brought up to me many times and explained to me the Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow defense. Correct. And I put them both, I lumped them together, by the way, for a deliberate reason, both sides of the coin, if you will. And both of them pulled out of a defamation, or they survived a defamation lawsuit because they had the stance of nobody would ever take them seriously.
No reasonable person. Yep.
Okay. So if she did not have the non-disparagement contract, would you say that could be her defense for defamation, is that she's so out there, the claims are so ridiculous that she may be playing the whole nobody would take me seriously, because they're obviously a stretch.
Yes, I believe that defamation would be a lot harder to get, because number one, you got to prove that she knows this stuff is false and all that type of stuff. And then the second part that I think is that it's so muddied that a reasonable person like me, like they would call me to the stand. You're a reasonable person, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. When you watched it, did you believe any of this stuff? No. And then they'll call somebody who did. And that muddiness, Candace wins. It's too muddy. It's like, I believe. And you're right. It'll go with the no reasonable person would believe this is true. But unfortunately, you got a lot of unreasonable people who believe it's true. And those unreasonable people, which the court are going to point to, that then you can't recover because unreasonable people believe it's true. But if you have an NDA, guess what? You can recover because those unreasonable people think it's true, because it doesn't matter at that point in time. So yeah, so right now, like we had that protection. No reasonable person, and that's it's the privilege of doing a political talking head.
Sure.
No reasonable person should go in to an opinion show and believe that what they're saying is absolute truth, because it's an opinion show. This is an opinion show. Tucker Carlson is an opinion show. Candace is an opinion show. But the difference between us and Candace is that Candace is in a contractual agreement with the people she's saying this bad stuff with. We have no agreement with Candace. That makes a big difference.
All right, so let's go and shift. We got our second story. This one is this is a much darker story, folks. Just to let you know ahead of time, very surprising. It's a campy little creation a lot of people have heard of, and that is the Squatty Potty. And this is, I don't know if it is but it is one of the most successful products to ever come out of Shark Tank. So it was very, very famous. Even had a famous commercial, but I'll let this roll to set it up.
Thank you very much. All new here at 10 o'clock, the creator of the Squatty Potty, a Utah-based company featured on Shark Tank, has been indicted for allegedly buying footage showing child sex abuse. Records claim Robert Edwards was in a group chat beginning in 2021 where members shared graphic files of kids. Edwards is accused of buying some of that material several times using his PayPal account last May. He has a detention hearing scheduled next Monday in St. George. And now,
all right, so that is the basic story. Now he very famously was on Shark Tank, and I have a clip of some of the Shark Tank. Now, never mind the image that's on the side. This did come from of course, somebody who put together a little package on X, but apparently he had a hobby and he liked to play dress up, if you will.
No.
So yeah,
He's a furry.
Well, I don't know. That's not that much fur there, but
right?
Yeah. All right. So here's some interactions, and watch Barbara Cochran, because that's what people want to feature.
Would entertain that seriously.
Well, the other issue is the 10% and the value of that in a year or 2 years.
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Okay.
Right. So you're talking about wanting to get value for where you see the company going, and that's why you think it's worth $7 million. Then you talk about, boy, if only you had a shark who could get your calls taken, who can help you get in retail. So you're obviously not valuing that, because if you truly did value that, you would not say, look, we're already to 7 million. You would have a value assigned to that could take you to 14 or 21, right, and you wouldn't argue about 5%. I'm out.
Okay.
There's something about you that I'm not believing.
Ooh. I am.
No, I trust your mom.
Oh,
you're
no.
hopping and weaving a lot, I feel, and it's making me more nervous as I listen. I'm definitely out.
Now that ages well for her, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really
She's
ages.
like, yeah, like you something freaky going on here. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now we're of course revising that back to the past, but it is interesting, and
it shows she has good instincts. It shows she has
yeah. It definitely looks good. And the famous ad for Squatty Potty, and I'm not going to play all of it. I never know how these things are going to break down. It involved a unicorn and ice cream poop. And that's part of what made it all go viral, because it just was like this ludicrous, crazy ass thing. It's hugely popular, but there is kind of an element of this ad that just doesn't hold up as well. So we're just going to look at the last, 30, 40 seconds of this particular ad and see.
Soft as this cookies and cream. But I'm not saying it won't. Squatty Potty. Stool for better stool. Pooping will never be the same. And neither will ice cream. One for you. Very good.
That's not really.
Is that delicious? Is that the best thing you've ever had in your life? There you are.
Yeah, it's not holding up very well, if you will.
No.
So, anyway,
this was a commercial.
That was the commercial for Squatty Potty. Literally that, and it was a very viral commercial.
Who the hell would approve something like that? Like it was like, hey, like what? Hey guys, would it be going too far using AI to recreate Stan music video from Eminem and have Candace playing Stan to Dark?
Yeah, you'd have problems with the licensing of the music. They get really touchy on that now. If you could find a way to recreate it, I don't know, but the music part I think would be the problem.
Yeah, the music would be the problem. And but again, you could do a parody where even some of the music is off and things of that nature, because I
Yeah, you have to
Weird Al
change the
Yankovic-
lyrics and have somebody else singing it, though.
Yeah, you have to have somebody else singing it. Like, you could do it in a way that could survive a copyright claim, because the copyright claim would always be about does your work replace the original work so much where nobody has to look at the original work; they can just look at your work. So, and I think in this particular instance,
and would they be confused?
Yeah, nobody would be confused between that work and the original work. But again, it's all contextualized, because a lot of people think there's like right and wrong answers in law, but it's not. It's kind of it's arguments, and people are trying to persuade other people that their side is more reasonable. Sometimes there are hard answers, but most of the time it's, you'll hear a lot of lawyers say it depends, it depends, it depends. So it's one of those things.
No, I totally agree. Now, the case at hand, the Squatty Potty thing, obviously this is a really dark story. Apparently it has been going on since around 2021. An undercover FBI agent was in chat rooms where exchanges were taking place. I didn't even know. Apparently this went down like February 12th or 10th. So it's been a couple of weeks even. It hasn't been out there, but it's been going back and forth. I guess his place was searched last year, like in November timeframe. And I don't have everything handy. I'm just throwing dates around in generalizations here, but it's been going on for a while. And I'm like, wait a minute, you've been on this since 2021? And apparently there were 4 transactions on his PayPal that they're claiming was potentially used for purchasing. The PayPal was flagged. Anyway, there's something going on with that. And
well, I think they got him dead to rights,
troubling.
and he looks like he's going to do some serious jail time. That looks like
He has a detention hearing already.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Let me see. Is everyone having the same issues with the video buffering? Yes. All right. I thought that was just me. So I think when you play the videos, it buffers. So just put them on the. I'll play the videos, because it was
okay.
buffering for me too.
I apologize.
No, it's just, I thought it was just more on my end, but I see people in the chat saying, some people say it's not me, but I was definitely getting it.
All right. Well, I'm going to skip forward because I don't know. Is there much more to go into on that story?
No. I just want to follow up, and hopefully we'll see what happens, because I think it's going to be interesting to see how they caught him. But obviously, when you're talking about this type of stuff, the big monster is going to be Epstein, right? Epstein's a big monster in this
and
whole
that's
particular
coming
thing.
up now.
Yeah. So, well, first we have the update on what's his name, Bill Gates.
Well, we have Bill Gates, and I really wanted to cover not just Bill Gates, but also Stephen Hawking. Okay, because Stephen Hawking is being kind of caught in this loop right now of what's going on, and to be perfectly transparent with everybody, and this is really important. We're trying to cover news. We're trying to get headlines out, and if it's a story, it's like, holy cow, we want to cover that. We will. And in this case, the thumbnail that we were going to be using today involves Stephen Hawking and a picture, and this is the original thumbnail for this episode, just so you understand. And I'm kind of letting you see a little behind the veil, or what we think and do. The problem is, you look at that thumbnail, okay, but there we go. It looks pretty salacious. There's Stephen Hawking's with a woman in a bikini. It's look at that. That's a fruit drink. Maybe that's on an island somewhere. It really is evocative what is going on in that image. The problem is, and I'm so glad that I'm part of Community Notes and I see things ahead of time, because I'm always open to interpretation. I have the original photograph, and this is it. Now, the reason why this is so ugly is because if you look in the bottom corner there, you see that little building there. It's like a house or something. That's the symbol for the website that held this article. This article with this picture, and by the way, the lady on the left is his assistant, and I believe the one who is on the right works with the particular hotel that's being featured. And the article was about this hotel offering accommodations for people with disabilities. And can anyone think of anybody who had a greater disability than Stephen Hawking?
Yeah, he literally couldn't move. But I think part of the story here too is this. Check this out, people. The way the New York Post sold it. Stephen Hawking's pictured in Epstein files lounging between two bikini-clad women. And then they show the picture of the two bikini-clad women redacted.
Yes.
Right, their
And
faces are
now,
redacted.
that was in the Epstein files. That is true. But there's a lot in the Epstein files that could be like this. You got to be careful.
Yes, and just like what you said with this one, this is the actual photo. They're not on Epstein's island. One is his assistant. The other one's like, this picture is nothing but. Now, I do want to say there have been rumors of Stephen Hawking going to the island and all that stuff. All that, whatever that is. But two things. And my question is, number one, why redact these two women in this photo? Right? Because they're not victims or anything. And they were supposed to be.
And they're obviously adults.
And they're obviously adults. And number two, this wasn't whoever was doing these redactions of stuff seemingly was doing this just to put more confusion in the marketplace, right? Because this is an article. It's not like this isn't even new. But it seems like they purposely redacted this to make this guy, Stephen Hawking, look like he was on Epstein Island with two young women drinking and having a good time. And now that we know that this is not the case, it brings everything into question. Everything into question. Who did what? Is this because now at a point it's kind of like, what am I looking at? Whenever I see now a picture from the Epstein files, I don't know, like, what am I looking at? Am I looking at something that is kind of sexual in nature, like they tried to portray this, or am I looking at something that's totally innocent, which this is? Eric did the research. This is totally innocent.
Yeah. And I actually sent, since video is buffering for me, in the shared document, can you find the Scott Jennings link there?
Oh,
and
yes.
play that video clip, because that's, I think, a second example of this.
All right, we'll play it right here.
And it is topical with the State of the Union address. With Scott Jennings pointing something out with, again, you have a congressman, and just go full screen on that if you can.
About that person in cut 12. And then there's the curious case of California Congressman Ro Khanna. Well, he is bringing to the speech tonight someone connected to the Epstein files story. Let's hear from Ro Khanna about that person in cut 12.
Haley Robeson just wants justice. That's why I'm inviting her as my guest tomorrow at the State of the Union. She'll be speaking not just for herself, but for the thousands of survivors.
You heard the name there, Haley Robeson. Now, Ro Khanna says she is speaking for the survivors, but is she? The files show something completely different, that Haley Robeson was, in fact, someone who worked with Jeffrey Epstein to recruit young women to the island. According to CNN's reporting, and I'm just going to read it to you, quote, Robeson told police she remembered bringing 6 girls to Epstein and told authorities she was like a Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood madam who ran a high-class prostitution ring. Robeson provided police with the names of some of the girls she had brought to Epstein's house. She gave the officers the cell phone numbers for 4 of them and told police she wanted to assist the investigation in hopes of receiving lesser charges for herself. Here's more from CBS News. Haley Robeson received $200 payments each time she escorted a new masseuse to Epstein's home, according to the police reports. Robeson targeted girls from the rural area outside Palm Beach, where she grew up, because Epstein believed they were less likely to complain to authorities. Here again, Robeson likened herself to the so-called Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss in an interview with Palm Beach police.
Oh,
And
you could
Epstein,
pause it. I
she
think
said, once admonished her for...
Now, so the thing with this, that Scott Jennings, he's being deceptive or he's being dishonest. And the reason why is most people don't understand how Epstein works. So I did a deep dive into this shit. The way Epstein, so there's West Palm Beach and then there's Palm Beach. and one is poor and one is rich. So the way Epstein started, and this is how, and it kind of ties into Trump and everything. And this is me and Eric have had this conversation about why I don't think Trump is as implicated as everybody thinks. So the way Epstein first operated when he got to Palm Beach is that he liked to get young women, but he's an older guy. How's he going to go meet teenagers? So first he had his Ghislaine Maxwell and all of those people, and there were other 4 women. They actually listed the list of the 4 women are actually listed in Epstein's plea agreement, where the government said they would not prosecute the 4 women that were recruited for Epstein. So what they would do is they went to like Trump's place in Palm Beach. What's it called? Mar-a-Lago, and other places where young women would get, let's say, summer jobs. And the women under Epstein would go and introduce themselves to these women and say, hey, listen, you guys are making $10 an hour, minimum wage or whatever. If you guys want to make $200, this guy wants a massage, and that guy would be Epstein. They would go get these young women to give Epstein a massage and try to turn it sexual with these young women. This is Virginia Giuffre. She was literally she met Maxwell and Epstein out of Trump's out of Mar-a-Lago. Now, when Trump found out that this was going on, that they were recruiting people, that's when him and Epstein had their falling out. And so what started happening after they got like the first line of young women to do it at Epstein, some of those women who I've read the reports, what they did was they would go to the house and they wouldn't want to do any of this stuff. They would start massaging. Ghislaine Maxwell start taking off her clothes, and they would say, hey, we don't want to do any of this stuff. This is wrong. So what Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell would do is say, okay, since you don't want to give me a massage, I'll give you $200 for everyone you bring to give me a massage. So I'll give you $200 and I'll give them $200. So that first line of teenage girls would go back to the high schools and say, hey, I got this old guy. He lives in this mansion. Give him a massage for an hour. He gives you $200, right? Now, if you're in a low income neighborhood, that's good money for you for an hour's worth of work. You can pay $200 an hour. So that new young girl would go, and then if she was down with it, they would pay her the $200 and she would come back and forth. Or if she wasn't down with it, Epstein would offer her that same deal. So one of the big issues with the initial prosecution was that so many of these young women were also traffickers of young women, because a lot of times the police in a lot of those police interviews, the police would tell these young women, like there was one girl, I think she was like 16, 17. And what she would, and when she was said, hey, I bought Epstein 60 other girls, this was my job. And the police stopped the interview and said, we have to advise you, you have just said that you've trafficked, because these women were actually ordering cabs and taking the cabs to Epstein. So that was considered trafficking. Like, you've just admitted to trafficking minors, 60 minors to this predator. You have a legal problem. Giuffre was one who did that too. Virginia Giuffre. So most of the Epstein victims, to say, or the survivors, were also doubling as traffickers. And it got to the point where some of the alleged victims, they would do the sexual stuff and then also traffic too. Like, they were double dipping. Like, I can't find anybody there, I'll do it today and do it. So this is what was happening.
There is a conflict in the chat, and unfortunately, because I did not grow up there, I cannot verify this, but I do want to put it out there because it's representative. Bro, I grew up in Royal Palm Beach, where the girls came from. It is not poor. It's right next to Wellington. Go do more research, Nate. I can't speak to that. Right. I'm not from there.
So again, there are poor areas in West Palm Beach. This is not a secret. So if Royal Palm Beach is where the rich people are, that's fine. But there are poor neighborhoods in Palm Beach, Florida. That is ridiculous. You can just look at a density map, or you can look at it. There are poor neighborhoods in West Palm Beach, just like in every city. And the poor neighborhoods, a lot of the survivors were from poor neighborhoods. They specifically focused in on poor neighborhoods. Virginia Giuffre was from a poor neighborhood in Palm Beach, Florida. So just do your research and you'll see there are poor neighborhoods in Palm Beach. So but anyway, but what I do want to focus on is that every one of the victims had kind of this taint to them. So I think that also helped Epstein in his defense say, well, hey, if you're going to charge me, all these people were trafficking for me, all these teens, all these people. And some of the teens, like there was one teen who trafficked from when she was 16 and she was working at Epstein until she was 20. So that's pretty damning. So just to say that one of these Epstein victims was also helping procure other victims, that's what all of them, that was the taint of essentially all of them. So I think in that context, yes, this person was trafficked or may have been abused by Epstein, but then on the back end, she was also a victim of Epstein. And again, we're talking about someone, a grown man, sending 14, 15, and 16-year-olds to get more victims. So I think in that particular case too, it's going to be hard for you to blame a 14-year-old who's being paid by a billionaire.
Well, I don't think he's excusing Epstein when he makes a statement. I think he's saying that there's a little bit more to the story. And you do bring up a good point. For example, a lot of predators, and I'm just going to be really vague on as kids. And by the way, I feel horrible for those children. As a child, I mean, obviously they were monstrously treated, everything else. At a certain point, though, a predator can become a predator. And then and when you say, okay, when does the victim to predator line get crossed? And I think it's a legitimate question.
There were some of those predators, which I'll call them predators. Like there was one woman, I think she was like 16, and she goes in there and they say they start the whole thing, and she's like, no, it's like she immediately says, no, I'm not doing it. And Epstein essentially gives her the deal. We'll give you $200 for everyone you bring in. And she literally says, that became my job. I was doing that. And even for 4 years. So I believe someone like that should be charged. I believe you may be dumb for the first time, but you were literally getting other women to go there, knowing what was going to happen, knowing that not everybody, and she would stay until they finished and we get paid by Epstein and would have a good conversation with Epstein. So I think those, like there are some of these survivors that I think are just as culpable as Epstein because they knew. You can say maybe for the first 6 months something's up, but if you're doing it for 4 years, then I can't just look the other way. But I would also say is I believe both things can be true. You can be a victim and a predator.
Are you saying that Robeson though is not one of those, or is one of those, or you aren't?
I'm saying
Robeson
is. What I'm saying is Robeson is one of those. I think she's one of those dual victims in which she's a victim of the trafficking, but then she's also a perpetrator of the trafficking. If that makes sense. Somebody, because mostly with Epstein, you'll always hear somebody brought me in, and then I started bringing people in.
Okay, so I just wanting to clarify because I don't want to go too far either way. Do you think that she is potentially someone who should have faced legal jeopardy? And like I said, there's a victim to predator paradigm or victim to abuser paradigm. Do you think she crossed that victim to abuser paradigm, and should she be held up as a victim, or should she maybe not be held up because she could be potentially an abuser? And that's all I'm asking is very specifically with her, because that's who he brought up in his example, holding her in front of Congress. And
so for her, it says 6, right? 6, there were 6. Virginia Giuffre, who was also held in front of Congress, she did something like over 100. There's another woman who was also brought, she bought, I think, another 60. So if this woman only bought 6, then relative to the other big names, then it's like, I would consider her more to be a victim. But then I would have to see her role, because again, all of these victims, a lot of these victims also doubled as traffickers. So it's hard to say. But I would say in his particular thing, without that extra context, I think it's being, I think he's losing the battle because he's left that other context on it. Because essentially, if that's the case, then something like 80% of Epstein's victims wouldn't be considered victims anymore. They'd be considered perpetrators.
Okay, so as somebody in the chat also said, many of these folks were actually also paid and
yeah, they were paid. They were definitely paid.
Earned quite a bit of money from it. But anyway,
this was some of those 14 and 15-year-olds who were bringing other victims. They were being paid $200 per person.
No. I'm talking about afterwards. Like they got literally a payoff from Epstein. He paid out some millions of dollars to a lot, like Gouffre, I know, got money, I believe, and many others. Got money paid too, She may have as well. And again, I'm going to hold my fire on it, but I think that all of this, like the example I just gave with Hawking, got this example. That's what makes all this very muddy, and it's difficult to get the full clarity on it. And I guess that's where I am. It's a muddy, ugly thing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Epstein and and all the people who are involved in this should definitely go to jail. But what I'm explaining is, I believe all those women who are, when you're underage, they're all victims, right? But if you're doing this for 2 years when you're a minor, then you become an adult and do it for another 3 years. At what point do we continue to say now you're a victim, right? Because at a point you're making that choice. So I don't know where Robson's arc is, but some of those women who were doing this thing for 4, 5, 6 years and getting compensated, then it's kind of like, I don't, like, you could make the argument she was a victim initially, but then at a point you got to, when are they responsible for their own actions? After the 5th time, after the 100th time?
And that's the question. That's what I said. I think that there is a line that at some point gets crossed, or it isn't. So, all right. So let's go to another guy that this came out about, and I think we'd all agree that this person's responsible for his own actions, which he in turn has admitted himself, and that is the illustrious billionaire Bill Gates. Very hard to defend Bill Gates when he lost his marriage, and I am saying lost his marriage because his spouse, or his ex-wife Melissa, said that the divorce was because of his relationship with Epstein. So I think there's enough evidence there to say that his interactions with Jeffrey Epstein cost him his wife and partner for the Gates Foundation. And now the narrative's kind of expanding a little to where he is admitting that he had 2 affairs with Russian women, and he apologizes to his staff over Epstein ties.
Now, I think it's important that people understand, before this article, Bill Gates had come out, because remember, there was an email that Jeffrey Epstein sent himself.
Yes.
Claiming that Bill had these extracurricular activities, his wife didn't know about them, and that Bill had caught some type of STIs.
STD,
and that STD he transferred to his wife and was trying to,
or may have. I don't
may have.
I don't want to go.
This is the claim from the emails. So the email was that he had surreptitiously gave his wife that disease, and then he wanted to, give her antibiotics undercover so she didn't know, and that type of thing. So that was like that whole email. And then Bill Gates came and said, hey, he sent that email to himself. I don't know what he's talking about, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know any Russian women. And then Bill Gates' wife comes out. And then she comes out and says, well, hold on. He's got to answer for his own things. But, there was some craziness that happened. Essentially, our marriage was gone because of what they were doing. And now he's come out back and has said that he did have these relationships with these 2 Russian women. But before, he seemingly denied it. He denied this relationship. Now, I'm assuming that there is something that maybe in the Epstein files that has not come out yet that has forced him to make this revelation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
getting ahead of the story.
Yeah. In other words, killing it, because if he's still out there with saying, no, I didn't have sex with these Russian women, then the evidence comes out, you're screwed. So now you get ahead of it, say, hey, I made a mistake. But then is all the other stuff true? Because now one part of it is true, is the part about him giving his wife an STI or STD. Is that true? And again, I'm not saying it is, but it makes you think.
She didn't confirm that. Melissa Gates did not confirm that she got that, or even that the antibiotics happened and the Epstein email was sent to himself. So there is some. It's not completely clear, in my opinion, or just going by the facts that are there. Because Epstein sent the email to himself, that could have been a draft to threaten Bill Gates. But I want to be very careful with what we're saying. We don't know for sure if she did get an STD. We don't know because she didn't admit or confirm that herself. He didn't confirm that, and we don't even have confirmation that Bill Gates even received the email or an email from Jeffrey Epstein about that.
But would you agree though? At first, the entire email was supposedly just fake, but now parts of that email have been corroborated.
Oh, sure.
The sex of the rest. So now it just makes you think, well, now we have some. Does that mean the rest of this stuff? It just makes it more likely than not, right? Now it's like more and more likely that, hey, this thing may be true. So I don't know. It's weird, but when parts of the story starts getting corroborated, then it becomes a lot less likely you can just hide behind that. All of this is not true.
Well, I agree, but Nate, I feel like we always should qualify because I mean, what story do we open the show with? How are we being super hypercritical about an individual creator who we feel is peddling really bad things? If we do the same thing, we've got to be really clear in qualifications.
Well,
I think.
I think there's a really big difference here, though, in terms of like what Candace is doing. If Candace had the email that said this, and then on top of that has the person, which is Bill Gates, come out and verify that part of the email, then I would say that gives me a little bit more to say, okay, well, that now brings the other parts in question. And I think that's what we're saying here, right? The part of the email.
I think he's sketched.
Women, right?
He's admitted his relationship. I think that now he's admitting more.
But that makes that part of the email about him having relationship with Russian women, that's been verified by him. So now the other parts he says is not true, but now I'm more skeptical about his claim about those other parts because at first he said the Russian part wasn't true. So that's what I'm saying. And I don't think Candace is doing that. Candace is saying all it's true without anything.
Right. I'm just trying to point out a difference that we are trying to be very, very specific and
I'm not saying Bill Gates did anything illegal, wrong, anything. I'm just saying he admitted to this. There are other things that were on that same paper. At first he said none of it was true. Now some of it's true. Now it makes me think, all right, so is any of it else is true? I think that's a reasonable kind of take to have on that situation, right? Nate, as a lawyer, I don't understand how you take interested witness testimony as gospel. I don't take interested witnesses testimony as gospel.
What?
They all have a huge incentive to implicate more rich men. Talking about all the victims. It's funny how you believe all women is suddenly valid. I don't believe all women.
No, I think he's trying to be. I think Nate's trying to be nuanced because Nate also supported me about the Stephen Hawking's image and what we discovered on that. It's really muddy and murky, and I think that we're trying to walk a path and find clarity as much as possible.
A couple of things that are wrong with this is that number one, some of these men have paid these women to keep their mouth shut already, right? There's a whole bunch of NDAs out there, right? And these women have been paid millions and millions of dollars to keep their mouth shut. So if their incentive is for money, they've gotten the money, right? So what's the incentive now? Number two is that this is not believe all women. There was an investigation done and there was evidence collected. For instance, the FBI has all these tapes and all these videos because Epstein had everything wired up. And one of the things that people don't realize with these interested witnesses that we're talking about is that when police first started investigating Epstein, they didn't believe these 14 and 15-year-olds, right? So what they did was they asked specifically, what's the layout inside the house? Because you would only know the layout if you went inside there. How do you know this? How do you know this? Where to go? And they were able to literally map out how the inside of the house looks. So they use all of that.
And moles and stuff like that on somebody's body is another thing they ask about, right? Is there any kind of tattoo, mole,
something
birthmark?
that most people wouldn't say? So just so we're clear, when you look at the evidence in its totality, it's up to the jury or the finder of fact to judge the credibility of the witnesses. But the witnesses, to even get to that point, to be called witnesses, have to have some credibility. And nobody's denying that these witnesses gave massage or anything. It's the denial is about whether inappropriate things happen. No one's denying that Virginia Giuffre was up with it. Nobody's like, they're not denying any of that stuff. What they're denying is the sexual part of it. So
it's a follow-up from the same chatter.
I know you know about nuisance claims. Yeah, I don't know. So I think there's more than just, and let's not forget too, they originally charged Epstein with 60 counts of trafficking that was going to put him away for life, and that turned into weekend jail. So I think that happens because he has people in his pocket. I think he had Bill Gates. Again, my opinion. I think he had Bill Gates in his pocket. And I think Bill Gates is still in somebody's pocket because yesterday people were asking me, well, how do I feel about the Epstein stuff not coming out? And I'm just like everybody else. I want the Epstein, I want it all to come out. But I think too, if you're thinking about, if you're the head of the CIA or the head of Mossad or any of these intelligence agencies, and you have all Epstein's blackmail information, and you know other people don't have it. If I got blackmail information, again, I'm making this up, on Bill Gates, on Donald Trump, on whoever, Bill Clinton, why would I want to give that up? Because if you let it out, then that information is worthless, right? The power in that information is keeping it secret, keeping them,
leverage.
Don't let it out. Yeah, I have that leverage. It just makes sense. If I got leverage on Elon, if I got leverage on Bill, I got leverage on all these super powerful people with billions and billions of dollars who I can control now. Well, guess what? I would want to keep that secret too. So in thinking of it that way, I'm thinking that some of these documents that we're not seeing could be for that reason. It could be for intelligence agencies to say, well, hey, we got this guy who's worth hundreds of billions of dollars and is locked into with the Russian government. We got him stone cold on tape with this young person with Epstein. Let's use that to our advantage, right? It just would make sense. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I'm saying it's reasonable to believe that that's something that's going on, and it's reasonable if you think Epstein was the way he was charged, the way he was released, right? The fact that he died in prison, even though they put the thing out the day before that, how he's going to die in prison. It makes sense if you think about it in this way. And I think some of that information they still have is still valuable enough where it's going to be hard to let it out. Because again, if you let out the fact, like even with this Bill Gates, if you let out the fact that all this is true, then you lose that leverage totally and that person's free. I want to, if I'm the CIA, I want to keep these people under wraps and I want to keep these people still on the tip. Like we'll let this out only when we want to let this out, as long as you continue to keep your mouth shut and do what we tell you to do.
You know what? There's a great comparison, or I don't know if it's comparison or an analogy to it. You know how John Bolton suddenly became charged last year, late last year? Well, it turns out that John Bolton, they had information on him back in Biden. So it's not even the Trump. Biden's FBI and Justice Department had him. And what it was that a hacker had hacked into, I think it was Iranians or somebody.
Oh, yeah,
anyway, hackers, they
yeah.
hacked into somebody. And
the US hackers
part of what they saw was information about John Bolton, but they did not let this out, and they didn't press any charges because, again, you don't want to reveal the bigger overall. Now, I don't know if this is an exact parallel, but it does make me think of that.
No,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
No, you're right. It's specifically the U.S. intelligence agency said we knew they knew the Iranians had had Bolton, but they, under Biden, like you're saying, they didn't charge him. They pretended it didn't exist because they wanted to keep. They had an end to the Iranian system. So they would rather let John Bolton go out there and say all this stuff, but have access to the Iranian system. And by charging Bolton, the Iranians would know automatically, oh, they got him because they're in our system. That's how they know. So they gave up that intelligence of, and maybe and to be fair, the Iranians could have caught them and probably killed their access anyway. So
Right. Well, I think at that point I think they ran
yeah.
out of the usefulness of it. So then it was like, okay, go and charge the guy.
Go and charge him now.
I don't know if there are cases like that in the Epstein files as well. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up.
I believe it's just, I believe it makes sense. Because people want to pretend this is all Trump alone, but we're talking about 4 administrations: George W. Bush. That's when it all started. Then you have Barack Obama, two terms. Then you got Trump. Then you got Trump. Then you got Biden, and then you got Trump again. So we got like what, 5 administrations this is going through.
Well, 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, and no one was saying anything about this. Now I understand it all falls on Trump's lap, but you know, I think the blackmail scheme was so good that he just got so many people who are just because think about it, on the island, he takes you to his island.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, this is where we're gonna play. Don't worry about that. And now all of a sudden, all the rooms have cameras. There's cameras everywhere in his office, everywhere. You go into a party, you meet somebody, you think they're of age. Next thing you know, you're on camera, or you could meet somebody of age and be married. And now he's got you on camera. He brings you to his office. Hey, look at this. Look at this. I got you on camera. What's your wife going to think about that? Well, you know what? Make a $3 million donation to MIT in my name, right? So I can get that money or something. Or I want to manage.
Bill Gates did give a donation to MIT under Epstein's name, allegedly, as an example.
Yeah, I'm not saying he did give. I'm not saying that's what happened to Bill Gates, but I'm just using that as an example.
Well, no, but I know that. Yeah. I'm just saying that there is a report that Bill Gates did donate money to MIT under Epstein's name or on his behalf. That's it. I'm just saying there's a report on that. I'm not saying it's a result of a blackmail. I'm saying that there's a report that a donation did occur from Bill Gates to MIT on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein or for Jeffrey Epstein or something of that sort.
And I'll be honest with the people in the chat. If you were heading the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, your job is to be this intelligent, to handle intelligence assets. You're telling me you got Epstein blackmail material on some of the richest people in the world. You wouldn't want to keep that under wraps so you can continue to control these people? It would be dereliction of duty, right? It would literally be dereliction of duty if you weren't to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand victims and all this other stuff, but I think there are national security concerns here, and I think I think that's what you're really treading against. And I also think you're treading against people who don't want their names out there. But again, it's the back and forth. So will we ever get the Epstein files? I don't think so, people. I think we're going to get a lot of Rob. We're going to get a lot of this. We're going to get a lot of that. But I don't think we're really going to get too much out of this.
No, we haven't got the JFK files yet.
Yeah, and they remember everything to put out. But as always, tell us we were wrong in the comments section. Tell us that, hey, this is as Alex Jones said, the evil Republican, the evil Democrats, and then the other side, the evil Republicans. I think they're both implicated in this thing, the Democrats and Republicans, no doubt about it. But it all depends on which side you're looking through the lens from.
All right. Well, on that note, we definitely want to thank Rumble for sponsoring us, for the Rumble wallet. I really hope that you all consider checking it out. There is a link in the description wherever you're watching, and it could be an option. If you're interested in crypto and different things like that, a wallet is how you store the crypto. I mean, I have a little bit of Bitcoin. I have a wallet. I'm pretty sure Nate has some wallets. It is another alternative, and it does help out other creators if that is something you are inclined to do. And as I'm subtly flashing on the bottom of the screen, I do hope you consider subscribing or following, whatever the mechanism is to check this out. We will be back tomorrow with a panel, and essentially for Nate and myself, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.